In this video, we're going to have a look at doing an eaves detail. Now, as you can see, I've lightly sketched it out, and I'm going to take you through the process step by step. Now, I'd recommend that you do sketch it with a light pencil, maybe like a 5 or 6H initially. Now, the place to start, I'm going to start with darkening up now, so I'm using my HB pencil. And I'm going to put the wall plate in first. Now, I think that's a good place to start on this drawing because it forms that sort of lynch point where you've got all the elements of the building coming together. You've got the wall, ceiling element, and the rafter element. And for a timber wall plate, we just simply put a cross through the timber to show what it is. And I'm doing this drawing at a scale of 1 to 5. So we'll be showing a bit more detail with some of our elements. Okay. So next, I would measure out your block work. Okay, so you can measure that down there, 225 per course. Don't forget your 10mm joints. And your block work is 100mm in thickness. And then you can just freehand in your joints. And you can carry those lines across. Okay. See where you've got your joints there, carry those across to the outer skin for your brickwork, and that will mean that they tie in together. And then of course you can measure your brickwork courses, being 65mm per brick, again with the 10mm joints. Okay. On the inner skin inside, we want our insulation as well. So I'm just going to draw the insulation in there. And now I'm going to set my rafter element of the roof trusses at 30 degrees, sitting on the outside there. Now, because I'm using trusses, it does sit across the outside. If it was a traditional cut roof, you would bring it in and bird mouth the rafter around it. But like I said, this is a truss. Now I've measured out a distance by there for an overhang of about 150mm. That of course could be different to whatever you're doing, but you still need to measure that overhang. Okay. And then when you measure your thickness for your rafter, make sure you're always measuring at 90 degrees. All right, so I've done 150mm thick rafter. And then you want to put your little angle fillet and your fascia on there. So I've just done a little 25mm angle fillet by there, and the fascia coming down at a 200mm fascia. Like so. From there across here now, we can have our ceiling joist part of the truss, and again measure straight up from there, 150mm. And now I'm going to do a break line across this end over here, and just put some little zigzags on there, like so. And I'm going to do the same along the bottom by here. Okay, and what I'm going to do then is put the plaster on the inside there. I'm not going to use the HB, I'm just going to use a 2H, but press down a little bit as I do. So this will just give you that definition change in line weight from the main elements like the bricks and blocks and the timbers to the finishing element. Okay, with the plaster. Now what I'm going to do next is put on my battens, and I'm using a slate finish. So what I want to do here is center out the battens. Now I'm going for ones at 300 centers. Okay, so that's from the start of one to the start of the next. And I've done them 25mm in thickness and 40mm wide. So you can just set that out roughly like so, 12, and then you could just do the 0, the 3, the 6, the 9, and put the 40mm on each of them. Okay, and then use this side, because this is at 90 degrees, to the ones we've just drawn. Okay, and then being little timbers, we will put little crosses in those, just to show what they are. And now we'll look at getting the actual slates on there. So start off with the bottom slate. Okay, so what you want to do here is literally just have a line like so. Now the bottom slate would be cut to size. Like that. And then the next slate, again, start from the top of the batten, and this one would be 600 in length. You might have a very slight angle on this as you draw it, but don't worry about that. And then you can just repeat that angle of each slate individually, taking care. So what you're achieving with each slate is this sort of double overlap area on each one, and that just helps with the weather protection there. Of course, if you're using some sort of tile or something, then you may have a different overlaps and settings. Okay, now we want to put some insulation in. So faint line 300 millimeters above there for 300 mil. Now, we do have to be careful that we maintain our 50 millimeters airspace along here. So I would just measure in that 50 mil and put a faint line by there. And then using the 2H pencil, I'm just going to put some insulation in. Like so. And then again using the 2H, I'm going to now put some hatching on our blockwork and our brickwork. So the brickwork is going to be a pair of lines, a gap, and another pair of lines. And try and be uniform where you're putting these lines, and it will just look that bit neater and tidier at the end product. So you can see I'm roughly putting them in the same place on each brick. Okay, and then we'll do our blockwork, and going to use a zigzag. You may well do a crisscrossing hatch on the blockwork. That's obviously fine as well. I'm just being a little bit quicker and just doing a zigzag, and then I'll label it. Okay, so what we would like to do then is draw a guttering on the end by there. So I'm just going to do a line across there faintly, and then measure off that line 100 millimeters. And I'm just going to do a quick angular profile. Measure down 50. And then use this to just tuck those corners. Like so. Needs to go across a bit further. And then I'll just darken around it. And I'm just going to make that, give it a bit of a thickness, like so. Single line across there, and maybe even a bit of a bracket by there. Okay. What we haven't put on here yet is our roofing felt. So that would normally be represented by just a thicker line. So I'm just going to do that like so. and then it would usually just stick out a little bit by there as well. Okay. What we'll be looking to do now is do some labelling. So draw your construction lines on in your 6H pencil, and then using your HB pencil, you could let's put the insulation hatch on the cavity first using my 2H. There we go. And then it's a case of labelling. I would normally use about 5mm sized lettering. Okay, and then as you do that, you can just put the lines pointing to each element. Like so. And with these ones, to put a line that way, followed by a line that way. Don't forget to sharpen your pencils. Alright, mine's starting to go a little bit on the blunter side. And then we can do as we've done by here and just point the arrows. Oops, being careful. Let's tidy that up. Okay, and there we go. There's our eaves detail, and you can then just make sure you fill in your title block. and job done. Hope you've enjoyed.